But anyway, Barry Jennings, I don't know how we're doing on time. I have a little piece on Barry Jennings' death, but there's really not a whole lot of real info in it. Just nonetheless know that he died. He's reported to have a heart attack. He was 52 years old. So draw your own conclusions if that's a questionable death or not.
Yeah, we got about 39 minutes left. We're moving right along here on Mass Transition, a special 9/11 edition, 9 years later, after the tragedies of 9/11, with good friend Bob in here giving us a lot of valuable insight and a lot of really great clips. This is turning out to be quite the epic 9/11 show. A lot of people talk about it, but we're doing something here, man. We're putting the evidence out there for the listeners. You can call in if you have any comments or anything to add to it, 413-585-1033, and we're just going to continue on with this.
Okay, good. In going on with other questionable people who had stories that contradicted the official story and who had questionable deaths, we're going to hear a clip from a man. His name is Kenneth Johanneman, and this is on day of 9/11. I believe he's actually being interviewed before the towers even have fallen. So if you look this one up on YouTube, you'll see him being interviewed and the towers still standing in the background. This is track 9, Ken Johanneman.
We should be able to hear what this man is saying now.
Anything else that you saw? Were you there for the second hit by the plane?
About 10 minutes later, the second building went off.
Did you see it?
Yes, I saw it. It just blew up. A big explosion. People started running. It was just chaos everywhere. People jumping out. People just kept jumping and jumping and jumping. And you could still see they were alive because they were flailing around.
The FBI has already stepped in to investigate. It could be possibly a terrorist strike.
It could be. It could be because the first one went off and then 10 minutes later this just blew up out of nowhere.
Hard to think that would just be accidental.
No, I don't think it would be accidental.
Back it up, folks. Back it up. Kenny
Johanneman.
Spell your name.
Johannemann.
And you were working there?
Yes, I was right there. I was down in the basement, came down, all of a sudden the elevator blew up, smoke. I dragged the guy out, his skin was hanging off, and I dragged him out, and I helped him out to the ambulance.
Thank you.
Right?
One thing I just can't see, I'm just keeps coming to mind here when I hear about these stories of just skin burning off and fire and these high temperatures, is just the fact that jet fuel in the planes, scientists have said that burned off in a matter of minutes.
Sure.
So what was fueling these fires?
Yeah, the jet fuel becomes sort of like the magic bullet in the Kennedy conspiracy. The jet fuel is responsible for all of the heat, every explanation. So we see the explosions when the initial, both the towers, we see them exploding, the glass popping out, and those big orange balls of fire. Now that's clearly jet fuel that's burning there. So we know that some of the jet fuel is consumed outside the building in the initial explosions. We also know that in order for these fires to get so hot, a good chunk of the jet fuel had to be lingering on the 70-ish floors in the South Tower and the upper floors in the North Tower. So again, we have a good amount of the jet fuels exploded in the initial impact outside the building. A good amount of the jet fuel is allegedly attributed to being soaked into the carpets and furniture and walls and stuff, and being responsible for the floors of impact where the fires got so hot that steel melted. And then also this jet fuel, it must be like magic gas tanks or something that are so filled with you just, or like that in the Chinese restaurant, the pot of tea that never is empty. But again, this jet fuel is also allegedly has poured down all these elevator shafts and is burning and igniting people and burning people. And this is a good time to talk about, yes, you're talking about all these instances of elevator shafts and all the intense heat and people being burned. People wrongly criticize the two towers, the Twin Towers, as being poor construction and a poor design. These tube, they call it a tube design, which is poor and stuff. But it really was, a lot of architects and other people of knowledge say it's a beautiful futuristic design. And one thing that's significant about the design is that all of the central columns of the building are kind of pulled instead of being evenly spaced throughout the whole footprint of the building, they're kind of all pulled to the center, and you have a whole lot of core columns tightly collected in a center area. And the other thing that is also in that center area with easy access to all these core columns is all of your elevator shafts. So when you look at things like, and this is on record, the weekend prior to 9/11, when all security for the building is shut off, all passcodes and electronic security devices are off, and a large number of what's known as nothing other than engineers are allowed in and out of the building, unrestricted access in and out of the building the entire weekend prior to 9/11. And I think that's significant.
Well, sure, I would think so, because I think we're kind of pointing towards, well, how could the buildings have been blown up? How could there have been explosives put in these buildings? This would have taken months to plan, and we see evidence pointing towards people having access, carte blanche, into the buildings with no security.
And we saw that, again, we're talking about people that are ritual bound and they only have so many good ideas. And we see a very similar situation in Oklahoma City in 95, I believe, 95. Oklahoma City, again, people are on record, credible witnesses saw, people going in and out of the building, up and down elevator shafts with, what looked like gray sticks of butter. So the concept of a building being pre-rigged weekends before and months before, you have to realize also the entire summer of 2001, many changes were being made to the buildings, especially the elevator. There was an elevator renovation project going on. That's on record. You can see it. I think it's in Blueprint for 9/11 Truth. They show the whatever, like there's like actually a magazine for elevators and stuff, and they show the article where they talk about the beautiful elevator restoration project at the World Trade Center. So that's on record. It was occurring. People were working on those elevators all summer. It wasn't, even if you're going to say, well, there's no way they could have wired the buildings in a weekend, I'll agree with you. Yes, there's no way they could have, but there was other opportunities for these kinds of things. And again, it's not my job it's none of our jobs, but it's not really the little guy's position to specifically say what happened. It's just to say, hey, let's all get together and go up to these knuckleheads.
Question this.
Yeah, question this nonsense.
Also, I think another thing that bears mentioning is the fact that the security company that was in charge of the World Trade Center was also in charge of security at United Airlines and American Airlines, and was a former employer of, I believe, Jeb Bush or
Marvin Bush.
Marvin Bush. Okay,
the younger, I believe, the youngest of the Bush brothers.
All right,
one of the younger ones.
So the same security company is in charge of all of these very important components of 9/11.
Again, and we can go on and on all night about this, and we will. But it's for a lot of people, it's not about the little things. It's about getting over that initial hump that there really are people out there that may have had an agenda, may have used problem reaction solution to accomplish that agenda, and may truly be that evil and that willing to do horrible things.
Indeed.
So where were we? We were at